Your memo and release yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the minute set?
Yeah, sure. If
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I said, I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively the video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night, they redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
Exists. And in which the Trump Justice Department put out a statement today saying, never mind all the things we ever said and hyped and screamed about the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Turns out it's all nothing, and people should stop asking us about it. Headline: Trump administration acknowledges lack of evidence from Epstein documents. After months of promising big revelations, Attorney General Pam Bondi acknowledges a lack of evidence for a host of conspiracy theories, including a, quote, client list. Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi, in fact, not only said there was a Jeffrey Epstein client list that Trump had ordered her to review and release to the American people. She not only said there was a Jeffrey Epstein client list, she said that she had it in her possession on her desk.
One of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
Oh, yes, it was a directive of the president. The Epstein client list is sitting on my desk right now, says Donald Trump's hand-picked attorney general. New statement today from her department, the U.S. Department of Justice, says there is no Epstein client list. The systematic review revealed no incriminating client list, according to today's DOJ memo. These guys have been hyping the whole Epstein conspiracy theory for years. I mean, this is the guy who Donald Trump appointed to be deputy director of the FBI.
I've already told you the Epstein story. Let's just say a friend who knows about something, if you've heard the story, was on the plane with Clinton with the Epstein thing, and he said, hey, I'm out of here, Daddy-O. I told that story quite a few times, so I know a lot about this story. There are a lot of people who know old Jeff, a lot of people. So it's kind of weird, like this client list is about to come out. Everybody got quiet all of a sudden.
I know a lot about this story. Says the podcaster who Trump named to be deputy director of the FBI. Now today, knock, 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 FBI, what's up with that? Today, according to the FBI and the Justice Department, there is nothing at all to this Jeffrey Epstein story. Please stop talking about it. There will be no further information released. Client list, what client list? We will not be talking about this anymore. There will be no further information. You should stop talking about this, except maybe if it is raised, on the gold spray-painted television sculpture on the National Mall. Maybe you could learn something about it there. But otherwise, now that Donald Trump is the head of the U.S. federal government, we're just, no. Trump administration today announced that.
But that story took an odd turn on Sunday night. At approximately 6:15 p.m., Axios, a left-leaning media organization, reported out of nowhere that the Department of Justice had just concluded after a review that there is no Jeffrey Epstein client list and that Epstein committed suicide in prison. That was on Sunday, meaning the Department of Justice, led by Attorney General Pam Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, both Trump appointees, made the decision to leak that information on Sunday, likely for all the reasons that we just laid out, hoping that it wouldn't get noticed. But it did get noticed. And the president was asked about this today. He was clearly upset that this pervert, who we knew 30 years ago in Palm Beach, which is a small place, who he ultimately ended up banning from his golf course, was still the subject of so much fascination and intrigue on the right, a soundbite that we've decided to play in full.
Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for an American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Costa, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the death?
Yeah, sure. If I
Pam, could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas.
You might remember last month Elon Musk tweeted that Donald Trump was on the Epstein client list, which is why it hasn't been released. And some people believed that. But let me ask you this. If that were true, why didn't Joe Biden or Joe Biden's Department of Justice make that public? Why didn't Kamala Harris make that public? Why wouldn't Merrick Garland leak it to the same media that was just leaked to on Sunday night? It didn't happen because it's not true. Axios also reported that, quote, investigators found no incriminating client list and no credible evidence that Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals and no evidence against uncharged third parties. And that's what this is all about. Who are those uncharged third parties? And who was really listed in that little black book that the New York Times wrote about in 2021? But this also raises several questions, the most obvious being, why did Jeffrey Epstein kill himself when he was facing sex trafficking charges in prison? And why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for 20 years on a sex trafficking conviction if no one was trafficking any sex? Does that make any sense at all? We don't think it does. We also think it's important to once again lay out why this matters, because it does. For the past decade, the name Jeffrey Epstein has floated in and out of the news cycle, and we are talking about this again tonight because Epstein died in prison before this case ever went to trial, meaning the hundreds of victims here that he was accused of trafficking and the people that he may have been trafficking them to will never face justice or even be named publicly.
Da-da-da. That bit of news flies in the face of everything Donald Trump's allies have been clamoring for years now. All over right-wing media, there has been rampant speculation about whether Jeffrey Epstein kept a so-called client list of wealthy and powerful associates of his. And there were conspiracy theories about exactly how Epstein died while he was being held in custody. Many of Donald Trump's own senior-most team members are the ones who promised the public that damning information that was previously hidden from them was about to be released. Watch.
Huge story. Again, not a lot of people are talking about. There is a little current of information I'm getting that the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi, maybe finally releasing a lot of information on this Jeffrey Epstein case, which is a huge deal.
In this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
We have, quote, information that will come out. Not so much. The Epstein list, though, mattered so much to the Trump base of voters that the Fox and Friends weekend team felt compelled to ask Donald Trump about it in an interview last summer.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least...
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I'd release it on the how he died part, at least. I mean, it wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement from Donald Trump, but you can hear echoes of that and how he's trying to wiggle through the questions, committing to at least declassifying information about, quote, how he died.
We're witnessing one of the most bizarre reversals in recent political memory. After years of pushing the Jeffrey Epstein story as a ticking bomb meant to take down the so-called liberal elite, after all the speeches, tweets, interviews, and cryptic promises, the Trump administration is now walking away from the narrative it helped build. Suddenly, there is no client list. Suddenly, all those ominous hints about big names and explosive files were just smoke. And now, with cameras on and questions finally asked, we get silence, denial, and attitude. Pam Bondi, Trump's hand-picked attorney general, once stood on Fox News and confidently said the Epstein client list was sitting on my desk as part of a directive from the president. Today, she claims she was referring vaguely to a case file. When asked about the missing minute from Epstein's prison surveillance footage, she blamed it on outdated 1,999 video systems that reset nightly. Does that sound like justice? Or does it sound like damage control? Because it's not just about what they said, it's how they said it. Trump, when asked directly during a cabinet meeting about Epstein, snapped back with, "Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? That's unbelievable. Do you want to waste time on this creep? Excuse me?" Wasn't it Trump himself who promised transparency? Wasn't it his DOJ that floated the existence of a list for months, even years? And now when it's convenient, he pretends none of it mattered? This is not just hypocrisy. It's calculated political retreat dressed up as outrage. And here's the twist. The people who are angriest right now aren't the Democrats. They're the MAGA base. The same people who were led to believe that the Epstein story would vindicate their suspicions, who believed there was a list, that names were coming, that justice was imminent. They're the ones now watching their leaders backpedal. Influencers on the right are turning on Trump and Bondi, asking why the evidence disappeared, why the DOJ released its reversal memo quietly on a Sunday night, and why the people who made the biggest promises are now the ones shutting down the conversation. This isn't just a broken promise, it's a betrayal, and it's not the first. This is the same tactic we've seen time and time again. Trump world floats a conspiracy, fuels it with vague statements and loud confidence, and then drops it the moment it becomes politically inconvenient. It's a cycle of manipulation that plays out over and over, and Epstein was one of the biggest pawns in that game. We were told the files would be released. We were told names were coming. Kash Patel, the man Trump appointed to the FBI, once hinted at flight logs, names, real accountability. Now, silence. Even Trump himself, when previously asked whether he'd release the Epstein files, gave one of his classic non-answers. Yeah, I guess I would. At least the part about how he died. The same man who claimed he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago is now shouting at reporters to stop talking about it. But here's the question that won't go away. If there was no client list, then what was Bondi referring to? If Epstein acted alone, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison for trafficking girls to no one? And if Epstein's death was just a suicide, why was there no footage, no guard accountability, no transparency? You can't have it both ways. And the people who once believed in this narrative deserve better than to be ghosted by their own leaders. This isn't just about Epstein. This is about a pattern, A machine that feeds on suspicion, escalates it into certainty, and then abandons it once it no longer serves. The Epstein narrative was never about truth for them. It was a tool until it became a liability. So now we're told to move on, but we won't, because you don't get to create the storm and then act shocked when people ask where the thunder went. You don't get to shout, "I have the files," and then pretend you never said it. And you sure as hell don't get to call us fools for remembering. If you once believed in this story, ask yourself who really lied to you. Who used your trust for clicks, votes, and distraction? If the Epstein file was real, why was it buried? And if it never existed, why was it sold to you like it was gospel? The truth is, either way, someone played you. And that someone wasn't us. So here's what you can do now. Speak up, call it out, share this, comment, let people know that the cover-up isn't in the file, it's in the silence. Subscribe, stay loud, and never let the people who sold you the lie tell you to shut up when the truth doesn't suit them anymore.